Angela Merkel was born on July 17, 1954, in Hamburg, in what was then West Germany. Just a few weeks later, her family made a surprising move. Her father, a Protestant pastor, accepted a position in the German Democratic Republic, East Germany, which was under communist rule and would soon be locked behind the Berlin Wall. While many people were trying to escape from east to west, her family went in the opposite direction. Angela grew up in a small town in the east, in a system with limited freedom, strict rules, and heavy political control. The girl who would one day become one of the most powerful leaders in the world started life in a place where people were expected to stay quiet and follow the line as a child. Angela was known for being shy and serious. She loved reading, thinking, and working on difficult problems. She was not the loudest person in the room, but she listened carefully. At school, she was an excellent student, especially in mathematics and science. She learned Russian so well that she won prizes in language competitions. Growing up in East Germany, she understood that people had to be careful about what they said in public. The government watched closely, and open criticism could lead to trouble. But in her mind, she learned to think freely. Even if she could not always speak that way, Angela decided to study physics at university. In a world full of political slogans and propaganda, she chose a subject based on clear rules, experiments, and evidence. Physics does not change depending on which party is in power. 2 + 2 is always 4. At the University of Leipzig, she spent long hours in labs and libraries, learning about atoms, particles, and the deep laws of nature. Her classmates remember her as disciplined, modest, and incredibly focused. After completing her degree, she continued her research and eventually earned a doctorate in physics. For many years, Merkel worked as a scientist in a research institute in East Berlin. Her life was quiet and structured. Experiments in the lab, calculations, reports, and meetings with colleagues. She did not look or act like a future politician. She wore simple clothes, rode a bicycle, and stood in line at the same stores as everyone else. She understood the limits of life under the communist system, but she was not a loud activist. Instead, she kept her head down, did her work, and watched the world carefully, waiting to see if things might one day change. That change came faster than almost anyone expected. In 1989, protests and political pressure built up across Eastern Europe. In November of that year, the Berlin Wall, a symbol of division between East and West, suddenly opened. People climbed on top of it, crossing freely from one side to the other. The world watched history being made. For Angela Merkel, this moment was like a door opening not just for her country, but for her own life. The system she had grown up under collapsed, and new possibilities appeared where none had existed before in this new world. Merkel did something surprising. She entered politics. A small democratic party in East Germany, created during the last days of the old regime, needed people who were honest, educated, and willing to serve. Merkel joined and offered to help with simple tasks like organizing and speaking to the press. Soon after reunification, that party merged with a larger one from West Germany, the Christian Democratic Union, or CDU. Angela Merkel, the quiet scientist from the East, was now part of a major national political party. Her rise was steady, but not flashy. She first worked as a deputy spokesperson for the last East German government, gaining experience in front of cameras and journalists. After Germany's reunification, she ran for parliament and won a seat. For many people in West Germany, she was still unknown. A woman from the East with a background in physics. Not in the traditional political networks. But she had qualities that leaders noticed. She was calm, precise, loyal, and good at understanding complex issues. Step by step, she was appointed to ministerial positions, including Minister for Women and Youth and later Minister for the Environment. In political meetings, Merkel was often underestimated at first. She did not shout, did not chase attention, and did not try to dominate the room. She listened, took notes, and asked sharp questions. She learned how the government worked from the inside, how decisions were made, and how to build alliances quietly. When political scandals shook her party in the late 1990s, she wrote a clear and bold article calling for renewal and honesty. That moment showed that the quiet physicist also had a strong inner backbone. She was not afraid to speak the truth when it mattered. Over time, Merkel climbed to the top of her party, becoming the leader of the CDU. For a woman from the former East Germany to lead a major West German-based party was remarkable. But an even bigger step was coming. In 2005, after national elections, Angela Merkel became the Chancellor of Germany, the first woman to hold that office, and the first person from East Germany to lead the united country. The shy girl from a small town behind the wall was now the head of Europe's largest economy. As Chancellor, Merkel faced a series of major crises. The global financial crisis of 2008, the Eurozone debt crisis, tensions with Russia, the refugee crisis of 2015, and debates over climate and energy all arrived during her time in office. In each case, she used the same core skills she had developed as a scientist: gathering data, analyzing details, and looking for practical solutions rather than dramatic gestures. Her style was cautious, sometimes slow, but often very stable. Supporters saw her as a steady hand in a turbulent world. Critics sometimes wished she would move faster or take bolder positions. One of the most famous moments of her leadership came during the refugee crisis in 2015. When large numbers of people fled war and conflict in the Middle East and beyond, Germany opened its doors to many of them. Merkel said words that became globally known, meaning roughly, "We can manage this." Some praised her for showing humanity and moral courage. Others feared the social and political consequences. It was a difficult decision that showed how leadership often means taking responsibility in situations with no easy answers. Throughout her years as Chancellor, Merkel kept her personal lifestyle modest. She lived in an apartment, went grocery shopping like any other citizen, and took holidays in simple settings rather than luxury resorts. She did not build a personality cult around herself. She preferred to let her work speak for her. She became known as Mutti, a kind of affectionate word for mom by some, reflecting the way many people saw her, not as a superstar, but as a calm, practical mother figure guiding the country through uncertainty, of course. Her time in power was not without controversy. Some argued that she was too cautious on climate change in her earlier years. Others felt she was too strict during the Eurozone crisis, demanding tough economic measures from countries that were already suffering. Like every major leader, her record is mixed, with both strong achievements and serious criticisms. But even many opponents admitted that her personal integrity, discipline, and work ethic were hard to question. After serving for terms, Angela Merkel decided not to run again. In 2021, she stepped down as Chancellor. She did what she had often spoken about. She respected the rules, allowed a new generation to take over, and quietly returned to private life. The woman who had been one of the most powerful leaders in the world for 16 years did not rush to write her own legend. She simply disappeared from daily news, reminding everyone that leadership is a job, not a crown. For your viewers, the story of riches in Angela Merkel's life is unusual. She did not go from deep poverty to sudden wealth, or from street selling to a palace. Her riches are different: the richness of knowledge, discipline, and inner stability. She grew up in a restricted, controlled society, but used that experience to value freedom without becoming arrogant. She trained her mind as a scientist, then used that training to make decisions affecting millions of people. She showed that you do not have to be loud to be strong, and you do not have to show off to be powerful. Her journey teaches that quiet people can become great leaders, that girls who love science and books can one day guide nations, and that staying calm under pressure can be one of the greatest strengths a person can have. Angela Merkel's life is a story of riches, where the main treasure is not money or fame, but a calm mind, a strong sense of duty, and the respect earned by years of consistent, careful leadership.